reduce transpiration. Next one is the mesophyll tissue. So here the mesophyll tissue, here well-developed mesophyll tissue, and it is differentiated into compactly arranged polysaid tissue and loosely arranged spongy tissue in the leaves. So here the polysaid parenchyma, generally it is present towards the dorsal surface and they are arranged in single layer. In nerium and ficus and etriplex, so polysaid is present on both adaxial and abaxial side, that is upper side and lower surfaces, and spongy tissue lie in between the polysaid layer. Here the vascular tissues are also well developed and it is differentiated into xylem with lignified elements and phloem. So in addition to central vascular bundle, in the midrib region also, several other vascular bundles also to be seen in the nerium. Extravascular bundle. So here the presence of the cystolith. So that is the deposition of calcium carbonate in certain cells of the upper epidermis. We can also observe the presence of cystoliths. And here the mechanical tissues are also well developed, including the several kinds of scleroids. So this is the internal structure of the nerium leaf. So here it contains upper epidermis and lower epidermis. So here cuticle, here the thick cuticle, and here the sunken stomata. So that is, it is present somewhat in the stomatal chamber or stomatal cavity. So generally the stomata which is present in the epidermal region only, but here it is present in some cavity or some chamber like structure. So it is called as a sunken stomata. So in some non-succulent xerophytes, that is in Ammophilia and Agropyran, so the leaves becomes rolled and folded in such a way that so the stomata occupy in the hidden position. So thus minimizing the rate of transpiration. That is another character, that is presence of the bulliform cells or motor cells. So that is the generally we can observe in the grass leaves, that is the motor cells. So which play an important role in rolling of the leaves during the period of dryness. So in these plants, mainly in the grasses, so during the dry conditions, the leaves will be folded inside due to presence of these bulliform cells or motor cells to prevent the transpiration mainly. So these cells are thin-walled, greatly enlarged and sensitive to the turgor changes. So this is also a special character. Generally, we observe these bulliform cells in the grass leaves. So the main function of this bulliform cells are, so during the dry conditions, they fold in, due to presence of these motor cells, they will be folded inside to prevent the transpiration. So next one is the hypodermis. So here the hypodermis, it is also well developed and it is made up of several layers of thick-walled cells. Here the hypodermis, which is mainly composed of parenchyma and sclerenchymatous cells. And in Casuarina, T-shaped sclerenchymatous hypodermis is found below the ridges. And stomata are sunken if present, and xylem and phloem also well developed. In succulent xerophytes, the ground tissue of the stem, which is made up of thin-walled parenchymatous cells, and they preserve excess of water. So here in succulent plants, that is generally the ground tissues, they are made up of thin-walled parenchymatous cells and they store the water. These cells will preserve the excess of water and mucilage in them. Therefore, the stem becomes fleshy. Here some modifications. We can also observe some modifications in the xerophytes. That is to reduce the transpiration. Here the phylloclade. So first modification, that is the phylloclade. That is the here the stem. Modification of the stem. Here the stem becomes flattened, green, leaf-like and perform the photosynthesis. So here the stem becomes leaf-like and they perform the photosynthesis. So here the stem modified into leaf-like structure. So it is called as the phylloclade. So stem shows nodes and internodes. So sunken stomata also present on both sides. So thick sclerenchymatous patches uniformly distributed above each vascular bundle and well-developed layers of polysaid on both sides. Next one is the cladode. So it is also another modification, that is the here this modification, that is the axils of the branches. Here the Here leaf is reduced to a scale in the axils of which they develop a branches. So these branches, they are flattened and become leaf-like. So here cladoid is the modification of the stem in which a branch of a single internode is flattened and becomes leaf-like. So it is called as a cladoid. So the proper leaf is reduced to a scale in the axils of which develops to grow a linear narrow structure called as the cladoid. So another modification, so here the not a stem, that is a branch of a single internode is modified into leaf-like structure. So the epidermis is covered externally by a thick cuticle, and polysaccharide and spongy cells contain the abundant chloroplast, and stomata are also few in number as to check against the transpiration. So here the main adaptations and the function. So here the due to presence of this thick cuticle, generally thick cuticle we can observe in the xerophytes. So the main function is here the protection against the desiccation. Trichomes. So the main to maintain the humid air around the stomata. Sclerenchymatous hypodermis, which protects the internal tissues from the high light intensity and also gives mechanical support. And thin-walled parenchyma. So they preserve excess of water. So here these thin-walled parenchyma, they preserve the water and mucilage. Phylloclade, sunken stomata and sclerenchyma, which surrounds the vascular bundles and they reduce the transpiration. Main function is to reduce the transpiration. These modifications. Here the cladoid, well-developed polysaccharide cells to increase the photosynthetic activity. Here the internode is modified into leaf-like structure. So it helps in photosynthesis. So next one is the adaptations which are seen in the roots, xerophytic roots. So here the presence of this suberized exodermis which regulates the inverse flux of water. So here the epidermis, the upper layer is which is made up of suberized cells. So here the water storage parenchyma cells in the cortical region and presence of additional layers of cells with thick walled around the stele and lignified pith in asparagus acutifolius. So here the endodermis also with the thickened cell walls and additional layers of thick walled cells around the stele. So here in the root system that is well developed, and here also presence of the thick walled epidermis or exodermis, that is suberized exodermis, and here also water storage parenchyma cells in the cortical region we can observe in the roots also, and along with here thick walled cells around the stele and lignified pith in the asparagus acutifolius. So here the endodermis with thickened cell walls and additional layers of the thick walled cells around the stele we can observe in the lygium. So here mainly suberized exodermis in the roots mainly helps to regulate the reverse flux of water, and parenchyma in cortex which stores water, and additional layers of thick walled cells around the stele prevent desiccation, and thick walled endodermis which regulate the reverse flux of water. So this is about the xerophytic adaptations in roots. So next one is the adaptation. Here these structural modifications. So here we can discuss about the ecological adaptations of these xerophytes. So here these modifications again they are classified into two types, that is xeromorphic characters and based on the xeroplastic characters. So the characters that are genetically fixed and inherited. Here in xeromorphic characters, so the characters which are genetically fixed and they are inherited and appear in the xerophytes irrespective of the condition, because whenever they can grow in deserts or in humid regions, they can be irrespective of the conditions. That is xeromorphic characters. They are genetically fixed one. And xeroplastic characters, another one is. So these features are induced by drought and are always associated with the dry conditions only, and they are never inherited. So depending upon the fleshy organs, so succulent xerophytes and non-succulents also called as the true xerophytes. So morphological adaptations of xerophytes, that is here the roots, well-developed root system which may be profusely branched and extensive and more elaborate the shoot system, and many desert plants mainly develop the superficial root system where the supply of water is restricted to the surface layer of the earth. So generally the main one is that is a well-developed root system we can be observed in the xerophytes, and here the profusely branched. So here the root system is well branched also. In perennial xerophytes, they grow very deep in the earth and reach the layers where water is available in plenty. So here the root hairs densely developed near the growing tips of the rootlets, so which enable the roots to absorb sufficient quantity of water. So here the root hairs also well developed, whereas root hairs are absent in hydrophytes. So next one is in stem. So in some xerophytes, they become very hard and woody and maybe either aerial or subterranean. So here it is covered with thick coating of wax and silica as in equisetum, and some may be covered with dense hairs also in calotropis. Here the stem is covered with hair. Example calotropis. Whereas here it is covered with thick coating of wax or silica in equisetum. So in some xerophytes, stems may be modified into thorns. Example here Durantha and Ulex. Here stem is modified into thorns. So in some xerophytes, they get modified into phylloclade. That is, here the stem is modified into leaf-like structure. So this one is the leaf-like. It is nothing but the stem only. It is not leaf. So it is the stem only. So these are the leaves. Or here it is maybe modified into cladode. Next one is the leaves. So if present, they are greatly caducous. That is, they fall early in the season are reduced to scales. As in Casuarina, ruscus and asparagus, here the leaves are modified into scales. Some evergreen xerophytes, needle-shaped leaves. We can observe the needle-shaped leaves in Pinus. In leaf succulents, the leaves are swell remarkably and become very flesh because of storage of the excess amount of water and latex in them. Example for this is sedum and aloe. So several members of the family of Chenopodiaceae also. So here the leaves are fleshy. Generally, we can observe in the succulent plants. Sometimes they may be reduced to spines. Example, Ulex, Opentia, and Euphorbia. Here the leaves are modified into spines. Ulex, Opentia, and Euphorbia splendens. So here these are the leaves only. And this green leaf-like structure is the stem. And here these are the nodes, here the leaves. So in Australian species of acacia, the petiole swells and becomes flattened, taking the shape of leaf.
Madam, your voice is not audible.
Epidermal hairs, thick cuticle. It is followed by epidermis, leaf traces also, and vascular bundles, well developed vascular bundles. So leaves here the epidermis outer wall of the cells heavily deposited with the cuticle and cellulose. In succulent epidermal cells which act as a water storage region. So certain grasses with rolling leaves, that is specialized epidermal cells. They are called as the bulliform cells or motor cells or hinge cells. So common occurrence in the leaf epidermis of sugarcane, bamboo and grasses. In nerium, epidermis is mini layered. So stomata, that is sunken type. So in some cases may be found in the furrows or pits also. So walls of these guard cells and subsidiary cells are also heavily cutinized and lignified in many xeric plants. In dorsiventral leaves, generally found on lower surface. The stomata may be present on the lower surface only when the epidermis, the upper and lower epidermis is present. So during that condition, so on the lower surface only this stomata may be present. In rolling leaves, they are scattered mostly on the upper surface. Hairs which are found in the depressions protecting the stomata from the direct stroke of strong winds. So this one is the sunken stomata. So outer chamber, inner chamber, here stomata with guard cells. So here the TS of the nerium leaf, which shows here the thick cuticle, 3-layered epidermis, which is followed by the polysaid tissue. So here the crystals, calcium carbonate crystals also, schistolith. So we can observe the schistolith in the nerium leaf. And here spongy tissue. So here the trichomes, we can also observe the trichomes. Here lower epidermis also contains the cuticle. So next one is a mesophyll. So very compact and the intercellular spaces are greatly reduced. And here the polysaid tissue, they develop in several layers. So in some xerophytes, mesophyll is surrounded by thick hypodermal sheath of sclerenchyma. So in pinus, the spongy cell of the mesophills are star-shaped. So this is the TS of pinus needle. That is here in pinus, the leaf is modified into needle-like structure. So sunken stomata, our upper epidermis followed by the hypodermis, sclerenchymatous patches here in the vascular tissues also, and resin canals. We can also observe the resin canals in the pinus. Okay, so this is about the internal character, ecological adaptations of xerophytes, morphological and internal characters.
Okay, my dear friends,
So here the main.
today's class, if you have any doubt, please ask our respected madam. So madam is ready to clarify your doubts. Okay. Manjula madam garu.
Sir.
Meghana, ఏదైనా డౌట్ ఉందా? రోజా, మేఘన అండ్ రాథోడ్ ఏమైనా డౌట్ ఉంటే అడగండి. మేడం గారు చాలా క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు. ఏంటంటే ముఖ్యంగా ఎకలాజికల్ అడాప్టేషన్స్ కంటే ముందు ఎడారి మొక్కల రకాల గురించి చెప్పారు. వాటిని మనకు డ్రాట్ ఎస్కేపింగ్ ప్లాంట్స్, డ్రాట్ ఎండ్యూరింగ్ ప్లాంట్స్, డ్రాట్ టాలరెంట్ ప్లాంట్స్ అని 3 రకాలుగా చెప్పారు. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం వీటిని మళ్ళీ మనకు ఏదైతే ఈ శుష్కాన్ని అంటే మీన్స్ ఈ శుష్క వాతావరణాన్ని తప్పించుకునే మొక్కలు, శుష్క వాతావరణాన్ని తట్టుకొని పెరగలిగే మొక్కలు, శుష్క వాతావరణం నివారించే మొక్కలని 3 రకాల మొక్కల గురించి చాలా క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు. ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ సహా చెప్పారు. ఎస్కేపింగ్ ప్లాంట్స్కి బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎపిమెరల్స్ గురించి చెప్పారు. మనకు ఈ జిజిపస్ కానీ, తర్వాత ఏది ప్రత్యేకించి మనకు ట్రిబ్యులా కానీ, అవన్నీ మనకు డ్రాట్ ఎస్కేపింగ్ ప్లాంట్స్ ఎపిమెరల్స్గా మనం చెప్పుకుంటాం. అంటే మనకు వాటిని ఇంకేమని కూడా చెప్పుకుంటాం అంటే అల్పకాలిక మొక్కలను కూడా మనం చెప్పుకుంటాం. వాటి గురించి చెప్పారు. దాంతో పాటుగా మనకు తట్టుకొని అంటే మీన్స్ నివారించే మొక్కలు మనకు సక్యులెంట్స్ ప్లాంట్స్గా చెప్పుకుంటాం. అంటే మనకు రసభరిత ఎడారి మొక్కలని కూడా చెప్పుకుంటాం. ఈ సక్యులెంట్స్ ప్లాంట్స్ అనేటువంటివన్నీ కూడా మనకు వివిధ రకాల భాగాల్లో అవి రసభరితంగా ఉంటాయి. కాండాల్లో రసభరితంగా ఉండేవి మనకు మేడం గారు చాలా క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు. ముఖ్యంగా యూఫోర్బియా కానీ, అదేవిధంగా ఓపెన్ షే కానీ, క్యాక్టస్ కానీ వాటికి సంబంధించి, అదేవిధంగా మనకు వేర్లు రసభరితంగా ఉండేవి, అంటే రూట్స్ ఆర్ సక్యులెంట్స్ లైక్ వాట్ వీ కెన్ సే దట్ మనకు ఇవి పిల్లితీగలు, అంటే మనకు ఈ పిల్లితీగలకు బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏం చెప్పుకుంటామంటే, మనకు పిల్లితీగలను ఎస్పరాగస్ వేళ్ళు అనేటువంటివి మనకు సక్యులెంట్ గా ఉంటాయి, రసభరితంగా ఉంటాయి. అదేవిధంగా మనకు లీవ్స్ రసభరితంగా ఉండేటువంటివి కూడా ఉన్నాయి. లీఫ్ లో మనకు బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ బ్రయోఫిల్లం కానీ, అలోవీరా కానీ, కలబంద, వీటికి సంబంధించి బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం చెప్పుకుంటాం. అదేవిధంగా డ్రాట్ టాలరెంట్ ప్లాంట్స్ అనేటువంటివి ఏంటంటే అవి చాలా లోతైన వేరు వ్యవస్థను కలిగి ఉండి అనాటమికల్ అడాప్టేషన్స్ దగ్గర చెప్పుకొచ్చారు. అందులో చాలా చాలా అవి మాడిఫికేషన్స్, అంటే అవి తట్టుకొని నిలబడగలుగుతాయి. బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనకు యూకలిప్టస్ కానీ, అదేవిధంగా క్యాజురైనా కానీ, సరుగుడు, అదేవిధంగా జిజిపస్ కానీ, ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనకి ఇందులో ఎగ్జాంపుల్గా మేడం గారు చాలా క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు. అంతేకాకుండా ఎకలాజికల్ అడాప్టేషన్స్, మార్ఫలాజికల్ అడాప్టేషన్స్, అదేవిధంగా అనటామికల్ అడాప్టేషన్స్లో కూడా మొక్క యొక్క ఏది ఎత్తు, అదేవిధంగా పత్రాల యొక్క పరిమాణము, తర్వాత లోతైన వేరు వ్యవస్థ, అంతేకాకుండా ఇంటర్నల్గా టిష్యూస్ అనేటువంటివి చాలా వెల్ డెవలప్డ్ టిష్యూస్ మనం జీరోఫైట్స్లో మనం గమనిస్తాం. కంపేర్ టు ది హైడ్రోఫైట్స్, ది టిష్యూస్ ఆర్ వెల్ డెవలప్డ్ in roots and also in the stem also. Leaves are very smaller in size and number of leaves is increased in size, but they are during extreme conditions they are fall down into the and survive from the external environment. అంతేకాకుండా ఇవి ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్ కండిషన్స్ ఉన్నప్పుడు నీరు అనేటువంటి మీసిలేజ్ రూపంలో నిల్వ ఉండి వేళ్లలో కానీ, కాండాలో కానీ, పత్రాల్లో కానీ బెస్ట్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. మాడిఫికేషన్స్ కూడా మేడం గారు చాలా ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. అంటే అవి క్లాడోడా, ఫిల్లోడ్సా, క్లాడోఫిల్సా, ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్ కూడా మేడం గారు చాలా క్లియర్ ఇవ్వడం జరిగింది. అండ్ ఆల్సో దే కెన్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ నంబర్ ఆఫ్ సీడ్స్ ఆల్సో ఇంక్రీజ్డ్. వై? బికాస్ దే కెన్ సస్టైన్ అండ్ సర్వైవ్ ఫ్రమ్ ది ఎకలాజికల్ కండిషన్స్. కాబట్టి ఇవి జీరోఫైట్కి సంబంధించినటువంటి లక్షణాలు చాలా క్లియర్గా చెప్పారు. మేడం, థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. Regarding of this class, if you have any doubt, please ask our respected madam. Madam is there. If you have any doubt, please ask our respected madam. Otherwise, madam will going to wind up the session, and also next class, madam will going to take the class about the succession, the primary succession, secondary succession, lithosphere, hydrosphere. Okay, so these are all most important topics in ecology and biodiversity, and also the biodiversity also most important for competitive exams, especially CPGET, not only CPGET but also AP set and TG set, CSIR, NTA, UGC net also biodiversity, founders effect, bottleneck effect, levels of biodiversity. Madam is going to explain very clearly, crystal clear. Madam has used experience, so that's why madam will going to take the class next. Okay. ఓకే, నవ్య మేడం గారు, రాజ్యలక్ష్మి మేడం గారు. రాజ్యలక్ష్మి మేడం గారు, యు ఆర్ ఫ్రమ్ విచ్ యూనివర్సిటీ ఆర్ విచ్ కాలేజ్?
I'm from Singareni Degree College under Kakatiya University.
Which college, madam?
Singareni Women's Degree College.
Okay. Singareni Women's College, మేబీ మా కాలేజీలో కళాజ్యోతి మేడం అంటారు, వాళ్ళ బహుశా వాళ్ళ రిలేటివా, వాళ్ళ ఆంటీ అక్కడ ప్రిన్సిపాల్ గా పనిచేస్తారట. మీకు ఐడియా ఉండి
డాక్టర్ చింతా శారదా
కళాజ్యోతి మేడం గారు చెప్పారు. మీరు సింగరేణి కాలేజ్ అనగానే నాకు గుర్తొచ్చింది. మేడం, రాజలక్ష్మి మేడం గారు, హార్టీ వెల్కమ్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. Our classes, our resource persons presentations, is there any?
Very nice sir, very informative and calm going, cool going. పిల్లలు కూడా చూస్తున్నాం సార్ వీడియో లింక్స్, ఒక్కొక్కసారి జూమ్ లింక్స్ వాళ్ళకి అవైలబుల్ కాకపోతే మన ఇవి పెడుతున్నారుగా, యూట్యూబ్ లింక్స్ కూడా ఫార్వర్డ్ చూస్తున్నారు.
మేడం, one more information regarding of these classes. There is no change any Zoom link because students, they are joined due to their personal works and also they are responsible to other activities. So that's why there is no change of Zoom link. Once Zoom link is permanent. Okay. Zoom link అనేటువంటిది మారదు, అది ఎప్పుడు అలాగే ఉంటుంది. ఓకే మేడం?
Okay sir, definitely I will inform to the students sir.
Okay madam, thank you.
Thank you sir, thank you for రైట్ టైం యు ఆర్ స్టార్టెడ్ వెరీ గుడ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ సార్.
యాక్చువల్లీ
ఎందుకంటే ట్రైబల్స్ మా సైడ్ అంతా రూరల్ ట్రైబల్ ఏరియా పీపుల్ ఉంటారు.
మేడం
సో వాళ్ళకి ఇది చాలా హెల్ప్ఫుల్ అవుతుంది. నేను పంపిస్తున్నా, వాళ్ళు కూడా మంచిగా రెస్పాండ్ అవుతున్నారు.
మేడం
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో
ఓకే
మచ్.
మేడం, ఓకే మేడం, థ్యాంక్ యూ. రైట్.